another Sunday night live stream show here. We are just getting started here on our live stream show. Looking forward to another great Sunday night here at our live show. Don't forget to comment where you're watching from. We are going to get started very shortly here. Just going to get started on Facebook. And we'll be starting here in about 8 minutes at 8:30 p.m. Our Sunday night live stream show happens every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. We talk for about an hour and give you all the latest fishing tips, tricks, and more, where we talk about all the different stuff going on here at Hubbard's Marina. And we are going to be giving away some free fishing trips. We're going to be answering your questions live during the show. And we're going to be showing you some photos. So don't forget to comment where you're watching from. Share this video on your timeline. If you're watching on Facebook, share it to your favorite fishing group on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up for us. And don't forget to comment where you're watching from and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. On Facebook, you can comment where you're watching from, like our page, share it to your timeline, share it to your favorite fishing group, and don't forget to like the video, guys. We're going to be starting here in about 7 minutes. Just finished watching the Buccaneers and their very upsetting first game of the year. Was hoping Brady and Gronk and the new blood we have at Tampa Bay would change things, but unfortunately more of the same. But hey, it's the first game. Things can change, right? Hopefully things change. Tonight we got a great show lined up for you. That was the last time we'll talk about football, I promise. We're going to spend about an hour answering your questions. Hopefully you guys have some good questions for me. Tonight I do not have a guest, so we're going to spend a lot of time in your questions. So make sure if you have a question, text that question to that phone number in the upper right hand corner. If you have a question, that's how you get it answered. If you comment your question, I might be able to get back to it. And I might be able to get to it here in the next couple days. But the best way to get your question answered is by commenting or by texting us at that phone number in the upper right hand corner. That's the best way to get your question answered. Again, text that phone number in the upper right hand corner. That's the best way to get your question answered for show. An hour for show your questions. So we are going to get started here very shortly. Just getting the ducks in a row. We're going to start in about 5 minutes. Remember, if you want to win a free fishing trip, you do have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook video. So we are going to be streaming to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook channel. We're streaming to the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook channel. We're streaming to our new supporters page, and we're streaming to YouTube. But the only place that your comment enters you for a chance to win is on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So again, if you're watching on our new supporters page, if you're watching on the Captain Dylan Hubbard page, if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch from there, but you want to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. We are going to get started in about 4 minutes, but while we're waiting, I do want to explain that new supporters page. If you haven't joined it already, it's definitely a cool opportunity to get a little bit more connected. That supporters page is going to give you exclusive content with more reports, some exclusive live videos, some behind the scenes stuff, some how-to videos will be posted there first. You will also get access to that supporters group, which is kind of like a kind of a private community for like-minded people Just basically a better way to get connected with us and to meet fellow subscribers like yourself. And plus, you get a lot more posts from us there, things that I wouldn't normally post on our typical business page. I've been posting in that supporters group. So there's about 40 or so members so far. Would love to build that up and connect with more of you guys. So definitely check out that supporters group if you're interested. It's only $4.99 a month. You get access to that supporters group. You get the supporters badge when you comment. You get the supporter only live videos, more exclusive content. It's definitely going to be something cool. Plus, I want to hear from you if you join that supporters group and you have something, any suggestions on what you want to see more of or what you don't want to see. Would love to build that out with your help. So think about becoming a supporter and look forward to growing that group with your help and support. Right now, we are sitting at about, between Facebook and YouTube, only about 180 live viewers. Football Sunday must be holding us back a little bit. It must be a little slow to switch over from that Bucks game. I know that was a tough game, and for those of you not in our area, there's plenty of other good NFL games going on. I was watching NFL Red Zone for a while. That's confusing. You got to really pay attention to keep up with that. It's a little too much above my pay grade. NFL Red Zone skips between all the games on TV, so you can basically watch everything on TV at once. It's tricky. It's real tricky to keep up with what's going on. We're about 1 minute away from getting started here. Make sure you grab your drink, grab your popcorn, grab your snack. We are just about ready to get started. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to our channel. Only about 73% of people who watch on YouTube are not subscribed. So send us some subscribe to our channel. It's free on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button under the video if you're watching on YouTube. Demetrius Toller, appreciate the stars, buddy. Starting off strong, 500 plus stars. I appreciate it, buddy. On Facebook, don't forget to like our page, give a thumbs up or give a like to the video, and on both YouTube and Facebook, don't forget to comment where you're watching from. We're just about ready to get rolling here. Hopefully you guys are as well. We got our photos pulled up. We don't have a lot of photos to show you, unfortunately, because of this weather. So the photo section is going to go quickly. So we're going to have more time to spend on those questions. So again, if you have questions, make sure you comment or make sure you text those questions to us to that phone number in the upper right-hand corner. Upper right-hand corner is our office phone number. You can text us there anytime. So make sure you text us at that phone number if you have a question you want answered during the show. Thanks for watching, guys. Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, where we've been fishing local waters for nearly 100 years in 4 family generations. Tonight, got a cool show lined up for you guys. We're going to be talking all about inshore, nearshore, and offshore fishing, but mostly focused nearshore and offshore. We're going to be showing you some photos of what's been caught lately, talking about what's coming up, and then we're going to answer your questions live during the show. If you have a question, you got to, again, text that phone number in the corner of the screen so we can answer it. And we're going to be getting to your question live during the show. If we don't get to your question live during the show, we'll try our best to get back to it after the show, but only if you text us that phone number in the upper right-hand corner. On YouTube, we have like 500-600 comments that just disappear after the show. On Facebook, we have like 1,500 comments that I just don't and can't sort through. All of them. I try to get to as many as I can, but the best way, if you have a question, again, text us in that upper right-hand corner. And with that, let's get rolling and show you what we've been seeing inshore. Inshore lately, we've gotten some good photos because I want to remind everybody we do that Fox 13 news segment, the Good Catch segment, every Friday morning at 8:15 a.m. You can watch live on their website if you're not local, if you don't have cable. If you are local, just tune in Fox Channel 13 News Friday mornings around 8:15 a.m. We do our live Good Catch seminar or Good Catch report. And I appreciate you, Gabe Brown. Thank you for sending those stars. I saw that. Thanks, buddy. But that Fox 13 report, we share photos of the latest catches inshore, nearshore, and offshore. So nearshore and offshore, we get some photos from our trips, but we don't get a ton, especially in times like this, our slower time of year. And then inshore, we don't run inshore trips, so we don't really get inshore photos. So luckily, our friends at Salt Strong don't mind me going on the Salt Strong Insider Club and using the insider photos, but also people like you. Want fans of the show and people who go out fishing with us will also fish from shore and submit your photos. So all this to say, if you catch a fish, if you catch a fish locally and you catch a fish and you want to send me that photo, you got to do it within a few days because it has to be a recent local photo, whether inshore, nearshore, or offshore. Freshwater doesn't count because we don't do that on the Fox 13 Good Catch report. But if it's a saltwater recent local catch from Clearwater or from Crystal River to Anna Maria, a little bit further south of Anna Maria, I can use it in the Good Catch report segment, and I'd love to feature your photo on the news. So if you catch a fish in saltwater and it's recent and it's only a day or two old or newer, you can send it to me via that phone number in the upper right hand corner. So save that phone number in your phone and text me your fishing photos, and I'll get you on the news, and it will help me do my reports, and you'll be on the Sunday night show. So make sure you save that phone number in your phone. So with that, let's get into what we've been seeing and what we got submitted this week inshore. So right here is a mangrove snapper. Mangrove snapper have been biting really well around our rock piles, jetties, bridges. A lot of mangrove snapper inshore right now. And lately the redfish have really taken off inshore. Inshore fishing for redfish has gotten better and better over the last couple weeks. The snook bite's slowing down a little bit and the redfish are definitely taking over. This is a Hedon Spook Junior. That is a top water fishing lure, and you'll notice behind our friend Luke Simons the sunlight is low, so those top water lures work really well on the grass flats in shallow water and low light conditions. Dusk, dawn, and low light shallow water areas, that is where the top water bite is best. Thanks, Dan Neto, for sending some stars. Really appreciate you, buddy. So redfish bites picking up. Top waters you want to use either right at daybreak or right there around sunset. Redfish are biting well through the night too in the passes. We're still seeing some snook around the mangrove shorelines, the shallow grass flats, the oyster bars, dock lines. Around the pass too, we're seeing them. So still plenty of snook in the passes at night, but definitely we've seen a marked decline in the number of snook around the pass. A lot of those snook are moving up into the bay, but they're still biting well. Cut deadbait has worked really well. Cut pinfish, cut threadfin around those mangrove shorelines and grass flats for those snook and redfish. Water's still hot. Trout bites been going well around the edges of the shallower grass flats or mostly on the deeper water grass flats. Around 6 foot of water has been doing well for those trout. Thanks Justin Bendis for sending some stars. Richard Blazek, David Middleton, Dan Neto. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for becoming supporters as well. See a lot of new faces becoming part of that supporters group. Thank you guys. Cheers. All right, with that, that is the inshore catch for this past week. We've been doing pretty good inshore, as you can see. Redfish bites picking up, snook bites slowing down a little bit, but they're just kind of spreading out. Trout bites going pretty decent, steady. Mangrove snapper on fire. And that's about it inshore. We're going to work our way near shore now. I'll show you what we've been catching near shore. The Hub, our private charter boat, is running our 10-hour all-day trips right now. And the 10-hour all-day on the Hub had a killer trip Thursday with plenty of lane snapper, some nice mangroves, and then some gray snapper, porgies, and even a hogfish, and plenty of keeper red grouper. The red grouper bite has been going really well on the nearshore, deeper nearshore waters, anywhere from about 80 to about 110 foot of water. We've been seeing a great red grouper bite. You can see there's a keeper gag as well. One keeper gag, still the gag bite nearshore, not so doing so good yet. But as the water cools, the gag grouper will bite better and better. So you can see here the Thursday 10-hour all-day trip did really well. The Tuesday 10-hour all-day on the Hub didn't do so well. Definitely was a little slower Tuesday. Attribute that a lot to do with weather. Tuesday was definitely a little bit bumpier, not really forecasted, but it ended up being a little bumpier, which made us anchor fish more. And the anchor fishing really hasn't produced lately. We've been doing a lot better doing some drift fishing. So in the second half of Tuesday, we were finally able to drift and catch plenty of lane snapper, a few mangroves, some grunts, but we didn't really get into the grouper. Whereas Thursday, as those low pressure systems were approaching the Gulf, we had a little calmer weather, we were able to drift. We caught a lot of red grouper, something like I think around a dozen red grouper were caught Thursday. And again, you saw all those snapper, lane snapper, plenty of grunts, porgies, keeper hogfish, and then even some mangroves as well. So Thursday a lot better than Tuesday, and that's purely based on the weather. Definitely one of those things when you're near shore and offshore fishing, you just never really know. It's part of fishing. It's almost like gambling. You don't know what's exactly going to happen, but that weather has a huge effect on it for sure, whether those fish are going to cooperate. We guarantee an excellent client experience with superior guest service. We're going to put you on top of great areas with plenty of fish, and hopefully they cooperate. But we don't control the weather, and we can't make fish bite. And that was a good example of it this week. Tuesday wasn't a bad trip on the Hub, but it wasn't half as good as they did Thursday, which was epic for for all senses of the word. Some nice keeper grouper and plenty of snapper. So good example of what can happen out there time to time. Thanks, Dan Netto, sending plenty of stars tonight. Really appreciate you, buddy. Thanks. One thing I wanted to point out to you guys before we get into your questions, again, plenty of time for questions tonight, so don't forget to text your questions to that phone number in the upper right-hand corner. But one thing I did want to point out to you guys is the website navigation has been reformulated. So our fishing trips menu was really long. We had some people complaining that they couldn't really scroll through the menu easily when their screens were zoomed in really far. They couldn't see the whole menu. So we actually redid the menu to make it smaller. So that way, if you are zoomed way in on the website, or if your font is set really large, you can still see the whole menu. So the menu is different. One thing that I do want to point out as well is our video links. So the fishing video links now houses our fishing tips and tricks page, our live Q&A page, and our Bass Pro Shop seminars. If you want to see past Bass Pro Shop seminars, they're listed right there on our website. And we just redid our fishing tips and tricks page. So I want to show you this. This is our newly updated, brand new fishing tips and tricks page. Now we have it in different sections. So we have nearshore and offshore tips, plenty of those. We've got some rigging tips with some more knots, and we've even got some general tips, and then we've even got a few inshore tips. So some cool added videos here on our fishing tips and tricks page. Definitely, of course, after the live show, highly recommend you check out our fishing tips and tricks page. Some added videos there for your viewing enjoyment, and we definitely added some cool stuff to that page thanks to our friends at Salt Strong. Salt Strong, our friends Joe and Luke, we work really closely with the Salt Strong Fishing Club, and they were nice enough to let us use their public videos on their YouTube channel. They have literally millions of videos on their insider club that are private to their insider members, but they have a very large YouTube channel where they have a lot of public videos that kind of give a lot of tips and tricks away, but you get even more when you join the Salt Strong Fishing Club. So we talk about that a little bit in our subscribers page. Again, highly recommend you join our subscribers page. We'll tell you a little bit more about the Salt Strong Fishing Club. And there's even a discount where you get buy one, get three free if you go to saltstrong.com/Hubbard. So if you're interested in joining Salt Strong, definitely highly recommend checking them out. It's a huge value. I find a huge value in it myself. I learn something new almost every time I go on their page. Inshore fishing wise. Plus they've got some really cool videos. So one of the coolest videos, I almost was late to the show tonight because I was entranced watching this video. One of the coolest videos is this underwater mangrove snapper behavior. It's on our new fishing tips and tricks page under fishing trips. Go to fishing video links, go to that fishing tips and tricks page, and under that top section, nearshore and offshore tips, is that underwater mangrove snapper behavior. And really, this is inshore mangrove snapper. This is filmed along a seawall, but this is something I've talked about in past live shows. This is something I talk about in a lot of my Bass Pro Shops fishing videos, and right here, this underwater video proves it. Really, really interesting. It's about 12 minutes long, so I'm not going to show the whole thing during the show, but I think it'd be cool to watch the first couple minutes of it here, especially since we don't have a lot to talk about, or we don't have a lot of photos to show you tonight. We'll talk about this for just a few minutes. Thanks, Gabe, sending us 1,500 stars. Jim Evans for sending some stars. Dan Netto, killing it with the stars tonight. Dan, thanks, buddy. But let's show you this video real quick. I want to show you this because this perfectly describes what I talk about.
Hey, this is Luke Symes with Salt Strong. Have some awesome footage for you. This is underwater strike footage with live shrimp. Just wanted to see exactly how these fish feed on shrimp so that we can just have a better chance of maximizing our results. And so this is a mangrove snapper, and then toward then I'll show you some pinfish as well. And just to, again, to show exactly what's happening so that when you do feel a strike, you can have a pretty good idea of what it is. So this snapper is creeping in. It knows something's wrong, but it still ended up eating finally. And again, what happens when it strikes is very very shocking on how fast it actually happens. And then what happens afterwards, I've seen a trend on exactly what happens afterwards that I think can help us all catch more fish more easily. So let's just check out this snapper again. It knows something's wrong, but it just couldn't help but to see what's up, and it was just creeping on that shrimp. That's a live shrimp there. It finally started moving, and every time the actual shrimp moves, it totally elevates the odds that it's going to get eaten. And that one, again, this snapper knows something's wrong, but it just could not leave it alone. It just simply could not do it. You can see my line is going right down here in the middle. It was, I think it was, 20 pound mono in this case. The weight's right here next to it, but it just could not leave this shrimp alone. And then finally ends up in the camera. Oh, by the way, yeah, there's a GoPro camera right down there that a lot of fish have been shy on. The sheep's head are especially shy on GoPros. I have multiple footages of the sheep's head coming right up to it and then freaking out. So anyhow, here's where it finally comes in and gets up there closer to it. Again, we'll just show this whole thing. This whole thing's just fascinating. So what it does, what these snapper do, especially if they're a little bit timid, is they'll get their nose on it and just kind of just nudge it, just a hair. And so right there, so that right there, it nudged it. And so when I first saw this, I'll go ahead and pause it. When I first saw this, I was bummed. I was like, oh man, I missed the strike. Super bummed. But let's go back. Let's just to see how fast this happens. And so we'll go check this. So this is frame by frame. You can see it just barely moving. Shrimp right here, snapper nosing up on it. But what it did is it nosed up on it, and as soon as the shrimp started to move, it did like a kind of a half strike. And what it does is it suctions in. See, its mouth tried to suction that shrimp in at the same time that shrimp had kicked away. So that shrimp is kicking away. And so again, when this happens, 100% of the time, at least so far, every one I've seen, after that snapper goes in for the first one and misses because the shrimp kicks off, it gets eaten. And so just watch how fast this is. Let me go frame by frame. Again, similar thing. That snapper basically just noses right up on that shrimp. And then in one frame, this is 60 frames per second. In one frame, that shrimp is gone. And this is not a big snapper. Yeah, check that out. Look how fast that is. So that shrimp is there, and now it is in its mouth. And this is a small snapper. This wasn't even a legal snapper. This was the first one I actually. So this is right behind. Right, there's a canal in the backyard, and I had a rod sitting right here with the line going out into the canal, and I sunk a GoPro down. And so this was the first snapper I caught from the desk, which is pretty cool. And again, so on the fast mode, right? The fast mode, it looks like it missed, but sure enough, it actually ate it. And that's what happened. So what happens afterwards? Let me go ahead and play it. This happens for all of them. Soon as some commotion goes on, now all the other snappers start coming over. They want to know what's going on. So that snapper just appeared within seconds. And then as this snapper is fighting, you can see it starting to come up. It's kind of going up against the seawall. There's eventually going to be 3 or 4 more snapper in there. Let me just go ahead and fast forward so you can see what's going on. So now you can see all these other snapper. They're wondering what's going on. They think there's a feeding frenzy. And so this is just the reason why, as soon as you get one fish, get another lure down there as fast as you can. Have somebody else on the boat drop one down, because, again, especially these snapper, as soon as one's on, that's actually feeding call for the others is what they think. So, again, this snapper, they're looking for
fish. And right there, guys, how many times have we talked about that during our live show and during our seminars? These mangrove snapper, there's not one spot better than any other on the boat. It's really the best spot on the boat is when you're fishing next to other advanced anglers. So if there's a bunch of advanced anglers fishing on the back of the boat, if there's a bunch of advanced anglers fishing on the front of the boat, that's the best place to be, is by other advanced anglers who don't miss fish, because mangrove snapper are smart. You saw that mangrove snapper. It was a small, very aggressive, not as smart, hasn't been around the block as much, smaller fish, but you saw how leader shy he was and how timid he was and how slow to bite he was. But then all of a sudden, when he finally did bite and was caught, then all those other snapper came around to see what was going on. And the same thing happens offshore when we're fishing. A lot of times when we get into a good mangrove snapper bite, my hands start shaking. If I'm fishing, like when I was growing up fishing on the 39-hour trips, my favorite fish to target is mangrove snapper. And you finally catch that first fish. A lot of times, if you can unhook that fish quickly, get another bait on quickly, and get back down to the bottom quickly in the same general vicinity, a lot of times you're going to get another bite like that. And then all of a sudden you catch that second fish, and it's exponential. Now you've got a bunch of fish down there waiting for your next bait. You get it off quickly, get it down quickly, and you'll catch a second fish, and a third fish, and a fourth fish. And all of a sudden you've caught your mangrove snapper limit, and everybody's staring at you because you're catching fish and they're not. And the reason why is because you're presenting that bait naturally. You've got that hook, that bait hooked naturally. You've got that double snell rig. You've got light tackle. You've got a high gear ratio reel. You're doing all those little techniques that help you catch mangroves, and it all adds up to being able to take advantage of that mangrove snapper fish frenzy. And right there, that video proves it. So really cool stuff Salt Strong does. And these are just some of their public videos. So their fishing club has hundreds of thousands of other videos. So I highly recommend checking out Salt Strong. And again, if you go to saltstrong.com/Hubbard, there is a special deal for buy one, get three free. So definitely check that out for sure. And with that, I got a few announcements to get to, and then we'll get to your questions. But before we get into the announcements, I think it is time to give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. We're going to give away a 10-hour all day for 2 guests. And if we get 400 live viewers, which we're pretty darn close to right now, if we get 400 live viewers, we're going to give away a free 39-hour trip for 1 guest, or we will just give a 39-hour trip away at half price for 1 guest. So 5-hour half day for 1 person is coming up now. But don't forget, again, if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, if your name is drawn as a lucky winner, you have to watch the show live in order to be eligible to win. So if we call your name, if your name is about to be drawn for the lucky winner, you do have to text that phone number in the upper right hand corner within about 5 minutes to prove that you are watching the show live. So that's how the live drawing works. Comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream that enters you to win. And then if you're lucky to be chosen, you got to text that phone number in 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip. So let's see who the 5-hour half day lucky winner is tonight during the show. Drum roll, please. 5-hour half day lucky winner is Dylan O'Neill. Dylan, I like your name, but you spelled it wrong. Thanks for watching, Dylan O'Neill. Again, if you're picked as that lucky winner, you do have to text that phone number in about 5 minutes to claim that free 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Congratulations, Dylan. Again, even though you spell your name wrong, I appreciate you watching. Brad Wooten and a lot of other people have sent us some stars while we were watching that video. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for doing that. And let's see some announcements before we get into the questions so I don't forget. Oh, the weather. I wanted to talk about the weather before we get into questions. So right on our website is the best place to look at the weather. On our website under fishing trips, you can scroll down to the weather links page. Our weather links page has a little bit of everything for everyone. The best weather forecast, though, guys, is going to be down towards the bottom. The ultimate storm forecast, our friend Mike at Mike's weather page has the spaghettimodels.com. I'm on this website page all the time. I literally have an alarm set in my phone for his live videos every morning at 9:19 a.m. You can see here on the NHC map, we've got literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas, 7 tropical disturbance areas to watch. So that is a reason why I'm on his page quite a bit. But obviously we're all looking at Sally right now. This is Tropical Storm Sally, expected to become Hurricane Sally before she makes landfall, and she's supposed to really slow down, unfortunately. So she's going to slow down and make landfall, dump a lot of water, and cause a lot of issues for our friends up in the Northern Gulf. I've got a lot of charter captain buddies in Mississippi and Gulfport, Mississippi, and Alabama, Mobile, Alabama, Gulf Shores, Alabama, Panama City, and all the way to Port Fourchon, Venice, and parts of Louisiana as well. And definitely keeping those guys in our thoughts and prayers, because Sally is going to be not so good for the Northern Gulf. The intensity guidance says that most likely she'll be Cat 1 But some are even forecasting maybe rapid intensification to a Cat 2 as she stalls out. So, long story short, the big thing you guys need to pay attention to in our area is this. This storm is not really going to exit the Gulf of Mexico until Tuesday afternoon. So, Tuesday afternoon, that storm is still going to be rotating and rotates counterclockwise. So, it's going to be sending storms right out here to right off our coast. Let me scroll back down and over. So Tuesday afternoon, the storm's going to be here, and all these rain bands are still going to be rotating and sending storms our way. So really up until probably Tuesday night, we're still going to be getting some effects from this storm. So if you go back to our website page, that's the ultimate storm forecast at the bottom there that we just looked at, Mike's weather page. If you scroll up, you can find our wind finder forecast. And let's go to the 10-hour all day and 12-hour trip buoy. Today it was blowing 40 knots, 40 miles an hour, and super rainy. Tomorrow still 25, almost 30 miles an hour, sorry, and still pretty rainy. Tuesday still 15 to 20, pretty rainy. Starts calming down a little bit Wednesday, and then it looks good there through the early part of the week and weekend. We still got a lot of rain chances, but at least it calms down a lot starting there Wednesday. So definitely a lot of weather to pay attention to over the course of the next few days, and really keeping a close eye on tropical storm, perhaps Hurricane Sally. Not really going to cause a lot of issues where we're at, but it's definitely going to cause a lot of bumpy conditions that we're going to have to keep our eye on. And then we have a low pressure perhaps affecting us this coming weekend, probably into Sunday. So definitely keeping a close eye on the weather with our friend Mike at Mike's weather page. Kind of a hobby of mine is the weather. And it's important, especially in our industry. We got to definitely keep our eye on the weather for what we do. So let's see, besides the weather, the dry dock update. We are in dry dock on the Florida Fisherman. So the Florida Fisherman is technically in dry dock, but on our website, you can see on our website, if you go over to the weather links page, it's right on the weather links page is our webcams, but under info, you can also find the webcams. You can see on our webcams under the fishing boat unloading, hopefully there's no one on the dock. Good, no one's on the dock. But you can see on the webcam, the Florida Fisherman is still sitting over there in its slip. It has not technically left for dry dock. You can zoom in on this too, so if you're watching the fishing boat unloading, you can zoom in on the camera as well, but obviously it's going to get a little pixelated as you zoom in. But the Florida Fisherman is not technically left for dry dock, but the motors are torn apart. So Caterpillar has been out. We've taken those motors apart on the Florida Fisherman. We're redoing the injectors, intercoolers, heat exchangers, turbos, and doing a lot of work on those motors. And we're also redoing our AC system in the main cabin area. So the Florida might not be on the railways and out of the water, but it's definitely in dry dock right now. It should be back in service. It will be back in service October 23rd for that first 39-hour fishing trip. But in the meantime, we are working on the boat at the dock. It should be leaving for Tarpon Springs to go up and out of the water. Probably not this coming week, but the week following that is when that boat will actually leave the dock. Thanks, Dave Decatur and John Morris, for sending some stars. Appreciate you guys. One thing I wanted to talk about was our new fishing tips and tricks page that we already featured for you. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was our friends over at Salt Strong, and thank them again for sharing all those photos or sharing all those videos with us. And with that, I think it is time to start getting into these questions. So let's see what questions we got. First question is, what braid to top shot knots do you recommend? And something that is strong and easily goes through the rod eyelets. 100-pound braid to 100-pound mono. Now, I'm real excited you asked that question because that is exactly why I reformulated our fishing tips and tricks page today, because we get a lot of questions about line to line knots and top shot and stuff. So some cool videos on the fishing tips and tricks page I want to point out to you guys. Under that fishing video links, you can find the fishing tips and tricks page, and here's the answer to your question. So he asked me my favorite line to line knots, and they're all right here. So the nail knot is my favorite knot to tie if I'm tying a hook or a swivel or a lure that has a split ring. If I'm tying a quick line to line knot that doesn't have to go through the guides, it'll always be a uni to uni knot. The first knot that's shown in this video is a uni knot to tie a hook on. I don't use that. I use the nail knot. But the Salt Strong guys show the uni to uni line to line knot, which is the easiest knot to tie, quickest knot to tie. It holds up pretty good, and it definitely, as long as it doesn't have to go through the guides, is a great line to line knot. Now, the best line to line knot that's fairly easy to tie is the FG knot. So we've got another video down here from our friends at Salt Strong, and this is the easiest way to tie the line to line knot, called the FG knot. It'll go through the guides. So if you want the best line to line knot to go through the guides that's easy to tie, it's the FG knot. And there's even another video there, the number one mistakes when you're tying the FG knot. Now, the best line-to-line knot for heavy tackle is the PR bobbin knot. This is what we use for our deep drop line-to-line knots when we got 125, 150 pound. When we're trolling, we've got 200-pound mono. These are the knots we tie, the PR bobbin knot. But that is very complicated. It takes a lot of time, and I would never tie that knot on the water. The FG knot is definitely the answer to your question. The question again was, what top shot knot do you recommend? Something that's strong and that will go through the guides. 100% the FG knot. If you don't need it to go through the guides, the uni to uni knot will work, and it's the easiest. The PR bobbin knot is by far the best. It'll go through the guides. It's 100% strong, but it takes a lot of skill to tie. I'm not even that confident in my PR bobbin knots, and they are definitely tricky. I'm still mastering it. My dad is very good at it. I could say I'm still learning. FG knot's pretty easy to learn, and it's a little easier to do on the boat. After the trip, what is the best way to get my photos from the trip? So if you're on a 39 or 44-hour trip, a lot of times we'll have someone out there with a GoPro. Tammy, our galley cook, will be out there with her digital camera, and whatever photos or videos that were taken on the trip, we actually compile them, and the photos are sent to you automatically the day you get back. So if you go on a Friday 39-hour trip, Sunday sometime, you'll get those photos in an email. You get an email that says, thanks for joining, plus all the photos from your trip. You open that email, and there'll be a link there to download all the photos from your trip. If it was a video, your videos aren't sent to you because they're too big of files. We actually send them over to Bob Harbison, and Bob Harbison, our man behind the videos on our YouTube channel, will pull together all those videos and make a video from the trip, which will be posted to our YouTube channel. So your photos are sent to you, your videos are compiled and posted to our YouTube channel. So that's how you get your photos from the trip on our 39 and 44-hour trips. If you're on a 5-hour, or if you're on a 5-hour, you can bring your own phone for photos. If you're on a 10-hour or 12-hour trip, your deckhands are willing to take your photo for you absolutely free. And then if you don't get with them before you get back to the dock, which you should, if you don't, you can always text us in that phone number in the upper right-hand corner there, and we'll get those deckhands and crew to send us those photos, and we'll send them to you. Thanks, Chad Peterson, for sending us some stars, buddy. You say October and November is good for gags. What depth are you seeing them at that time of year? That's a good question. So, October and November, we typically see gags in a little shallower. As far as exactly what depth we see them, it changes. So, a lot of times, if the weather is bad, if we get a lot of cold fronts early, we'll see them in shallow by October, November. If the weather is good and we don't get a lot of cold fronts, we have a very mild start to the winter, those gags will still be out a little deeper in 100, 120, 140 foot of water. So ultimately, the depth of the gag groupers in October and November depends on the weather. By December, I would feel more confident in saying that most of them are in a little shallower in those nearshore waters, but it really depends on the weather and how cold that water gets and when. Any advice for targeting redfish from a kayak on the flats between 275 and Fort DeSoto? Trout are fun, but I'm wanting something bigger. So right now, redfish are definitely starting to school up. There's a lot of redfish around Weeden Island, around Cockroach Bay, around Fort DeSoto even. There's some redfish moving out on the flats. I would look for birds feeding on bait. I would look for schools of mullet. Those are all telltale signs of redfish. You get in that area, you got to be moving slow because it's early. Those redfish are still pretty spooky. So you got to kind of sneak up on that school of fish. But look for the signs of life, the mullet schools, the birds diving on the flats. Look for the bait. And I would recommend looking at that smart fishing tides on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com on our website and go to fishing trips, scroll down to weather links. If you're inshore fishing from a kayak, from shore, it doesn't matter. Scroll down to that tides and salooner information and go to that smart fishing tides website. This was powered by Salt Strong. Our friends over at Salt Strong created this website, and you can click on where you want to fish. So in this case, if you're wanting to fish Fort DeSoto, you could click on the little tide area there, and it's going to tell you the best day to go fishing. So in this case, Thursday is the best day to go. You can click on that day, and it's even going to tell you what hour is best of that day. So it is a 10 out of 10 on Thursday, September 17th between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then again, it's still a good time between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. That afternoon. So use that website, use that tool to pick the best time to go if you're fishing inshore or you're fishing around the beaches. That doesn't necessarily apply offshore. Offshore, we have different tides. That tool pulls together weather information, tidal information, and salooners, and that's what gives you those numerical numbers for best day to go. Whereas offshore, we have different tidal times, salooner times, things like that. So those information won't apply once you get offshore, but they definitely work very well inshore. Another great tool from our friends at Salt Strong. It's Captain Mike from Big Pine Key. Hope you guys are dealing with the water well. Had a bunch of flooding down in the Keys. Wind and water pushed into low-lying areas. But give it 2 days and the fishing will be epic. And that is true. So Captain Mike's there talking about down in Key West, they got a tragic amount of rain from Tropical Storm Sally as it pushed by their area. But Luckily, it's not super crazy, and luckily nothing really got destroyed, just a lot of rain and some flooding. And luckily, the guys down there in the Keys are pretty resilient to that. And long story short, he's excited about the fishing behind that low pressure. So once this low pressure system moves out of our area, once the water calms down offshore, the fishing gets really good. Once the water calms down near shore, the water's also got to clear up, and then the fishing gets really good. So probably by Thursday, Friday, Saturday near shore, the fishing will be good, and probably by like Thursday, Friday offshore, the fishing will be really good. So offshore, you just got to wait for it to calm down. Near shore, you got to wait for it to calm down and the water to clear up. Real important. Lewis, Chris, Leslie, Chisholm, appreciate you guys sending those stars. Let's see here. What's the next question? What are the outings like now? What safety precautions are taken? So right now, you have to wear a mask inside our office. That's the county ordinance. On the boat, we recommend that you wear a mask, but it's not required. And we recommend you don't show up if you're in that protected class, if you're more vulnerable. And we recommend you don't show up if you're sick. Actually, we mandate you don't show up. That if you're sick, don't come. And then as far as the mandates on the boat, we just encourage hand washing and distancing when possible. But if you're super, super worried about completely keeping social distance and you want everybody to wear a mask, don't come see us, because that's just not the way things are right now on the boat, on the water. But everything's going well. We're catching plenty of fish and having a great time doing it. Let's see here. What is the best bait and setup to target triggerfish? Triggerfish, I would recommend a small strip of squid, about 1.5 to 2 inches long, and about maybe 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch wide, probably a 1/2 inch wide. So basically, a long, skinny strip of squid and some lighter tackle is the best time, or is the best bait to target those triggerfish for sure. They really like that small squid strip. They'll also take a small chunk of thread fin and some lighter tackle. They like a little smaller hook. They've got smaller mouths. So it kind of depends on the size bait you're using and how deep you are, but like 4 to 6/0 hooks. 6/0 if you're fishing closer to 200 foot, 4/0 if you're fishing a little shallower. But light tackle and light leader, similar to if you were targeting a lane snapper, a mangrove snapper. That's what you want to use to target those triggerfish. But they're kind of more of a luck of the draw thing. If you see triggerfish coming up, I would switch to that long skinny squid strip. I wouldn't use that long skinny squid strip for a majority of the trip trying to target triggerfish, because there's not that many of them to necessarily target specifically. But if you see one come up and you switch to that squid strip, you should have a pretty high chance of hooking one. Dan Netto continually sending the stars tonight. Really appreciate it, buddy. Anthony Barnes, thank you for sending some stars too. Thank you all for sending stars. What tackle is recommended for those big amberjack? So big amberjack, you want to use big tackle, heavy line, 125, 150 pound leader, 100 pound main line, 80 pound main line, big tackle, 10 to 14/0 hook, big reel. Definitely going to be the best opportunity to hook and land those amberjack. How does Hubbard's Marina determine to cancel or go based on weather conditions? And when are patrons notified? That is a great question. It ultimately depends on the trip. So like for a 5-hour half day or 10-hour all day, we have a much lower threshold for what we find acceptable. Because typically on a 5-hour half day or 10-hour all day, we're going to have more first-time anglers. So more first-time anglers, we're going to be a little less basically we're going to be more sensitive to the weather. So if we know that we are going on a 5-hour half day where 90% of people don't fish offshore a lot, that would mean that if there's 3 or 4 foot seas, we're going to be more likely to cancel. Whereas if it's a 39-hour trip and we've got all advanced anglers, 3 to 4 foot seas, we wouldn't even question. We would send the trip out because we're on the big Florida fishermen. We've got a lot of advanced anglers. We might tell you it's a little bumpy, but we're not going to cancel. Whereas on a 39-hour trip, if it was 6, 7 foot seas, that would be a little different story where we consider canceling. Basically, for me, it comes down to customer experience, and ultimately, customer safety is number one, but customer experience is number two, especially with private charters. If we're looking at the weather and I know it's going to be a rainy, or if I know it's going to be a bumpy, windy day, if it's bumpy and windy and you can't feel the bite, you're not going to catch fish. Yeah, it might be safe to send the boat, but I'm going to send the boat. You're going to get beat up. My captain, my crew's going to get beat up. My boat's going to get beat up. You're not going to have a good time because you're not going to catch fish. And then all of a sudden you come back and you're upset and you want money back. So for me, it's a lose-lose. If I cancel the trip, you're upset because we couldn't go fishing. If I don't cancel the trip, you're going to be even more upset because you spent money and you didn't have a good experience. So for me, I put myself in the shoes of the guest, and I try to focus on what would the experience be like, and would I want to go out there and go fishing. That's how I look at the trips. And as far as when do the customers get notified, when do the patrons get notified, with as much notice as possible. But again, it's a lose-lose situation. So if I tell you 2 days out, oh man, the weather doesn't look good, I'm going to have to cancel, you're going to be super pissed 2 days out. Well, the weather can change. And if I cancel 2 days out and then 24 hours later the weather does a complete 360, which it does often in the state of Florida, especially this time of year, then I'm going to be pissed that I canceled the trip for no reason and I upset you for no reason. So for longer range trips, we try to give as much notice as possible. Shorter range trips, we typically wait till a little bit more closer to the time of the trip. But we ultimately will never wait until right before the trip unless something comes out of the blue or something unexpected happens, like we get down to the boat and the boat ran great the day before, everything's been good, we get down to the boat and it won't start. Then that's unexpected out of the blue. We might have to let you know last minute. Or if we wake up and the Gulf is full of storms and it's all of a sudden 4 foot when it was only supposed to be 1 foot, then we might have to cancel last minute. But long story short, we guarantee an excellent client experience with superior guest service, and we try to always give you as much notice as possible. But we don't control the weather. We can't make fish bite. And sometimes stuff happens when you're offshore fishing. And we got to roll with the punches. And I guarantee you I will be as transparent, upfront, and honest as humanly possible. And I guarantee you as much communication as I possibly can on any cancellations. How much is Sally throwing your way? Well, it's been pretty much raining here for the last 15 hours. So it's been raining like crazy. But it really, besides just some pretty heavy rain, not much our way. We've had some pretty significant gusts. It's been blowing. I think at one point today they were registering around 40 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour winds. So we've had some pretty significant wind and lots of rain, but nothing crazy. Again, I just feel for those guys up in the northern Gulf. Like 54,000 people were out of power as of this morning's Mike's Weather Page live video in Louisiana. 54,000 people still out of power from Hurricane Laura, and now they're going to get another hurricane hitting Louisiana. So definitely feel for those guys up there. And we still got some more questions, still going to try to rip through some of these questions, but it is time to switch gears and give away another free trip. So we're going to give away a free 10-hour all day for 2 guests here right now. 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Let's see who the lucky winner is. Robert Clark. Robert Clark is the lucky winner of the 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Remember, if you're picked as that lucky winner, you do have to text message us at that phone number in the upper right hand corner to claim your free trip. So make sure you claim your free trip in about 5 minutes or less if you were picked as that lucky winner. And thanks for sending some stars, John Anderson. Appreciate you, buddy. And with that, let's get back into the questions. Would a Shimano Torium 30 on an XXH Travala rod be suitable for the 10-hour or 12-hour trip, targeting large snapper and grouper, possibly amberjacks, 50-pound mono, 65-pound braid backing? Well, a 10-hour trip, we would never ever find amberjack because we're only fishing 15 to 25 miles from shore in about 60 to 100 foot of water. Amberjack are at least about 50 to 70 miles in at least 140, 150 foot of water. So a 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, or 44-hour would be the only trips you have a chance for an amberjack. As far as large snapper are concerned, again, mostly 39-hour, 44-hour, maybe a 12-hour extreme. And then grouper, you have a chance of catching a grouper on a 10-hour trip, but it's our shortest trip closest to shore that offers a chance to catch grouper. So if you want to go after big snapper, grouper, and have a shot at amberjack, absolutely not on a 10-hour trip. More 12-hour extreme, best opportunities for all that would be on a 39 or 44 hour. The 12-hour extreme is a great trip, but it's basically like a 39-hour trip on a very quick boat that gets you out there for a very short taste of what a 39-hour would be like. 39-hour gives you a lot of fishing time. It gives you a 2-day bag limit. And if the fish aren't biting too well, you go eat a cheeseburger or lay down, take a nap, or watch a movie and come back out when the fish are biting a little better, you know? The 39-hour gives you a lot of fishing time, a lot of flexibility, gives us a lot of time to move around and find those fish. 12-hour extreme, we run out there to where we hope the fish are biting best, and we might make some maneuvers around, but we don't have the flexibility to make large runs like we would on a longer trip. But it is a fast boat that zips you out there and zips you back, and you basically get 39-hour quality fish in a 12-hour trip. So the 12-hour extreme is a great trip, don't get me wrong, but if you want a lot of fishing trip, definitely 39-hour or 44-hour is the best option. As far as the reel goes, the Torium is a great reel, but it is a little small. I'm not exactly sure what the drag power is on a Torium, and I'm not super familiar with that rod because I don't mess with Shimano that much. But if you send me some specs, or after the show, I can kind of look it up and help you a little bit more. But I can't really answer live based on the information you gave me, unfortunately. But after the show, I'll look more into it. When do you plan on the seminars starting back up at Bass Pro Shops? Unfortunately, I have absolutely zero control over the Bass Pro Shops seminars starting back up. That is 100% up to Bass Pro and Bass Pro Shops corporate. Bass Pro is awesome. I love Bass Pro Shops. I love going there, but it is a corporate operation, and it does have very corporate structures, so they are definitely erring on the side of extreme caution. So I would imagine the Bass Pro seminars aren't going to happen for a while, unfortunately. I really want to get back over there. I really want to get it back up and running, but I'm basically at the mercy of Bass Pro Shops corporate until they say, all right, you can go back to Bass Pro Shops and start doing seminars again. That's when I'll start doing it because I'm excited to get back over there. But as far as when I know they're going to start, I have no clue. I've been waiting on that phone call and hoping for that phone call, but I don't know. What time will 39-hour and 44-hour trips target? What will 39 and 44-hour targets during the day? Amberjack, I don't understand this question. Basically, on a 39 and 44-hour trip, we're targeting snapper at night. During the day, we'll target more of the grouper and amberjack. Amberjack season is open to the end of October, so our October 23rd and October 27th 39-hour trips will be targeting amberjack. And then October 30th, amberjack will not be open. We're going to be transferring more towards grouper and snapper during the day. I think that's kind of what your question was, but I'm not 100% sure. So, John Anderson, appreciate you sending some stars. What tackle should I bring for the 12-hour 12-hour extreme trip, I think? Anything extra that I should bring with me to get a better chance of a monster amberjack? So the amberjack have been biting on the biggest possible live baits best. Biggest possible live baits, vertical jigs have been working really well for amberjack. So the only thing that I would recommend on a 12-hour extreme trip to give you the best chance at amberjack would be a big reel, big tackle, and then big bait. Whether that's a big vertical jig or using some really big live bait. That perhaps the best live bait that we've been having is the live bait that we catch when we're out there. Some of those 1, 2, 3 pound fish, or if you want to bring some big blue runners, if you want to bring some big grunts, some really big pinfish, we do have 2 wells on that boat. So if you bring some specialty bait, I'm sure the captain and crew could separate it out for you a little bit. And we're also working on offering select bait for those long range 12-hour extreme trips if we can get it. Went on the all-day trip a few weeks back. Great time. Caught some good fish. Smokey said don't forget to tell Dylan how awesome he is. Smokey is pretty awesome, and he's not afraid to remind people to tell us. Smokey is awesome, though. We're blessed with a killer team here at Hubbard's Marina. We have great captains and crew, and that's what makes us great. People like you who watch our shows and come out fishing with us, and our captains and crew who keep you guys happy and keep you guys coming back. I hope you guys enjoy my company too, but I really believe it's truly up to people like you and our captains and crew who make this all possible. So definitely feel very blessed that we have a great team. When mangrove snapper fishing at middle grounds at night, how would deep drop lights help or just not deep enough? Strongly recommend not using deep drop lights for mangrove snapper in the middle grounds. Definitely not deep enough, and those fish see a lot of pressure, a lot of lines. Deep drop lights are not going to work to attract mangrove snapper in shallow waters. If you're fishing 800, 1,000 foot of water, 1,200 foot of water, those deep drop lights would work, but we mainly use those only at night. These fish in our area see a lot of hooks. They see a lot of pressure. They see a lot of boats. They are very leader shy. The lightest possible tackle with the most natural possible presentation is the best way to catch a lot of fish. Especially mangrove snapper. Super leader shy, super skittish, and super smart. Plan on doing the 12-hour extreme in December. What other fish do we target other than grouper? The 12-hour extreme is a very, very short amount of fishing time. So we scream out there, we target the biggest possible fish. So in December, we're going to be mainly targeting gag grouper, red grouper. We might catch some snapper while we're at it, but mainly grouper is what we're going to be going after in November, December, especially when those gags start biting really good. That's going to be the target for the most part on those 12-hour extremes. Thanks, John Anderson and Michelle Cairns for sending some stars. Thank you, guys. How do you catch triggerfish on the 12-hour extreme? We already kind of talked about that in the previous question about what bait is best for them. Please give a shout out to Ethan and Samantha. They are both booked to fish with you in October. What's up, Ethan? What's up, Samantha? We'll see you in October. Tight lines. You said your sister is connected with your store. Why not have her on your show to talk about it? Having a female on your show as a guest could help increase your female fishing base. That's true. If my sister was at all interested in being on the show, she would be. I don't know. I will try to get her on the show. I've tried to talk my wife to getting on the show before, and she is not about it. It's honestly kind of difficult to get people on the show. So you guys have seen Smokey. You guys have seen Captain Frank, Will. We've had my dad on the show. I think we had Captain Brian on the show at one point. At least I really wanted to. Maybe I imagined that. But I've really tried hard to get Captain Joe, Captain Garrett, Captain Brian, some of our other more commonly known people onto the show, but they really kind of fight it. I don't know what it is, but I'm working hard on getting some new guests. I've asked Captain Garrett, my cousin, the last 3 weeks in a row if he'd do the show, so I'm gonna keep asking him till he yells at me. But hopefully I can get my cousin Captain Garrett. I think that would be a really great show. I would love to get Joe, Captain Joe Drew. He's like my brother from another mother. We literally grew up together fishing on the 39-hour trips. His older brother was a crew member when I was learning how to fish. His older brother taught me how to cast a conventional reel. Joe and I go way back. His dad used to work with my dad. So literally 3 generations of his family working with us and making our trips awesome. And so I'd really like to have Joe on the show at some point. My cousin Garrett, Captain Brian is awesome. If I could have Captain Brian, if you could hear Captain Brian tell some of his jokes and do some of his raps, it would change your life. Captain Brian, I don't know if any of you have met him. If you have met him, it'll blow your mind. He's a rap star. He really does have some really good raps, and he can do them off the top of his head. It is incredibly impressive. All right, we are running out of time. Let's see here. Let's see what other good question. What baits do amberjack bite on? Amberjack are only open through the end of October, and do they feed on the bottom or on the top? So most of anything that those amberjack bite on are big, huge live baits. The 1, 2, 3 pound live baits that we catch offshore, like the porgies, the grunts, the blue runners, all great live bait offshore for amberjack. Big bait, big tackle, and we catch them sometimes halfway down, we catch them sometimes 3/4 of the way down, or we sometimes catch them right on the bottom. So you just never know. I like dropping my live bait till I can't see it anymore, and then I stop it with my thumb, and then I drop it down really slowly from there, because a lot of times you can hook that fish before it ever gets to bottom, and then a lot of times you have a higher chance of catching them because they don't go all the way on the bottom. All right, let's see here. We talked about the weather. We talked about dry dock updates. We told you a little bit about the hub. 10-hour all day is doing really well. I implored you guys, don't forget to check us out on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We talked about the new fishing tips and tricks page. We mentioned our new subscribers page. If you haven't joined the subscribers page, please check it out. You get exclusive content, exclusive live videos. You get the supporters badge. You get access to the private supporters group with more posts, more connections, a bigger network, and you get to connect with us and connect with your fellow supporters. So highly recommend becoming a supporter, checking out that group. Also, don't forget to check out Salt Strong. Thanks again, Salt Strong, for letting us add your videos to our fishing tips and tricks page and for working with us for so many years. Definitely check out saltstrong.com/Hubbard for some deals at saltstrong.com. And we'll see you next week for another episode. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We will see you here. And before you hang up, it is time to give away our 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. And tonight, I didn't refresh this page, so if you joined after the halfway mark, you're not eligible to win, because you got to watch the whole show live, and you got to claim that free trip in about 5 minutes from the time we called your name. So tonight, instead of refreshing the page after each giveaway, I didn't. So only the first maybe 20 minutes of live viewers are in the hopper for one of those free trips. I'm going to start doing that from now on, so that way I've been noticing towards the second half of the show, all of a sudden the viewers kind of hop up, and I think that's a lot of people who just hop on trying to win a free trip, and that's not fair to people who watch the whole show. So we're going to start doing that to where the first 15 to 20 minutes you'll be eligible to win a free trip. After that, it's closed. So let's see who won a free 5-hour or a free 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. And yes, the light is acting up. I have no idea why it's doing that, so we'll figure that out later. But it is what it is for now. 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. Let's see who the lucky winner is tonight. Remember, if you're picked as this lucky winner, you do have to text us that phone number in the upper right-hand corner in about 5 minutes to claim that free trip. And we'll see the rest of you guys next week, Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Derek Boomsma from Lansing, Illinois. You won a 39-hour trip for one guest. Make sure you text this in that phone number in the upper right-hand corner. Hopefully everybody can join us next week, 8:30 p.m. for another live stream show. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. We'll see you next week. We'll see you at the dock. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook. Hey, if you enjoy the show, maybe leave us a good review. I'd appreciate it. Have a good night, y'all. Happy Sunday. Tight lines.